Hi, I'm PJ Edwards. I'm a member of Georgia Detention Watch and also a member of St. Thomas the Apostle in Smyrna. I have a non-exciting part. We heard some things about values about this immigration detention, and I'm also going to give you some information that is some of the facts and statistics. The magnitude and the cost of immigration detention. The U.S. detains 350,000 immigrants a year, more than triple the number of people in detention just 9 years ago, at an annual cost of $1.7 billion. The average cost of detaining an immigrant is $95 a day, yet there are alternatives to detention that are much more humane and much less financially costly at $12 per day. The U.S. contracts with 250 state and county criminal jail houses to detain 50% of immigrants in detention, and the U.S. holds the remaining detainees in federal, private, and dedicated county facilities. In Georgia, Corrections Corporation of America charges taxpayers over $30 million a year to run the Stewart Detention Center at full capacity. CCA made $155 million in annual net income in 2009. In an official ICE database obtained under the Freedom of Information Act, the U.S. detainee population was exactly 32,000 on the 25th of January 2009. 58% had no criminal conviction, not even for illegal entry or low-level crimes like trespassing. More than 400 of those with no criminal record had been incarcerated for at least a year. The U.S. detains asylum seekers, survivors of torture and of human trafficking, lawful permanent residents, and the parents of U.S. citizens. The U.S. also has mistakenly detained a number of its own citizens for immigration reasons. Immigrants can be detained for months or years without any meaningful form of individualized review of whether their detention is necessary. By searching for, prosecuting, and detaining so many nonviolent residents, our law enforcement personnel and financial resources are diverted from focusing on true matters of security and public safety. The majority of people in immigration detention, 84%, are unable to obtain the legal assistance necessary to present viable claims in an adversarial and complex court process. Detention facilities are required to comply with ICE detention standards. However, these standards are not legally binding, and oversight and accountability for abuse and neglect is almost non-existent, leading to practices in violation of international standards. Individuals in detention find it difficult to get timely and at times any treatment for their medical needs. 107 people have died in immigrant detention centers since 2003, including Roberta Martinez, who died on 11 March last year at the Stewart, while under the custody of the Stewart Detention Center. So what's wrong with immigrant detention? Immigrants are being detained where there are more humane and less costly alternatives. Detention addresses immigration problems by punishing the immigrants instead of addressing root causes of immigration. Detention of immigrants is a punishment not commensurate with the violation. The people in these immigrant detention centers, if they had any criminal conviction, they've served it elsewhere, and they're being held on a civil violation. It's the only civil violation since debtor prisons that can end in detention. The unnecessary detention of immigrants and their treatment while in detention violates human rights principles, founding principles of our country, and principles of major religions. Last year, ICE themselves did a study on immigration detention and found that the vast majority of people in these detention centers are of no threat to society. And they've admitted that these detention centers, which are based on penal detention for regular violent criminals, is unnecessary, it's inappropriate for the type of population that they have, and it's overly costly given what it is. So even with this information, the result is still more detention beds. So our reaction to immigration has been more and more detention and less looking at root causes and other alternatives to detention. And that's really why we're here today, because here, again, when we know there's cheaper, effective alternatives that the government itself says, we're still adding more detention space.